semester is over. It's been one heck of a semester. It's just gone. It was just so jam-packed with everything. I hope you have all kept up. Semester marks will be released by by next week on Tuesday. But I don't think any of you would have had any issues in qualifying for the exam. Next week, Wednesday, not Monday, because I don't like those late classes. So next week, Wednesday, at this time, I will host a examination preparation class where I will take you through the layout of the exam, give you some tips, tell you what to concentrate on, etc., etc. So that will then be our last session. So we're finishing the formal work tonight, and then one more session where I will help you with your examination preparation, give you some guidance there. I will also set up in due course, once again, a practice quiz for you in order to actually just assist you with your preparation of the multiple choice questions like I have done in the past. Just give me a thumbs up. I've shared my screen. Can you see the screen? Okay, it's the same document. After our examination preparation class, I will also tidy this document up and share this with you as well, if it could be of potential assistance to you. Just remember that these notes do not replace the actual detailed notes that have been uploaded on e-learning. I will also go through my archives. I probably have some old PowerPoint slides as well. Not for Introduction to Law for Accountants. I've never prepared PowerPoint slides specifically for this course, but previously the accounting students did business law, where they also covered purchase and sale, lease agreements, and partnerships. So I'll just go through them and see whether, because of course for the law of partnerships is the same, whether it's Introduction to Law, Accountants, or Business Law, the legal principles are the same. So I will also share some of my business law PowerPoint slides with you, if they could be of assistance. Otherwise, they're not a long class tonight, very short and simple. We just need to quickly do this. We're coming to an end of this semester, end of the syllabus, and also looking at termination of partnerships. Seen so far, what are the requirements for a partnership to come into existence? We've looked at the rights and duties of partners during the existence of a partnership. Looked at how partnerships operate with regard to contracting. What are the requirements for a partnership to be bound to a contract entered into by one of the partners? And now tonight we are looking at how does it all end, the termination of partnerships. Termination of partnerships. In common English law business language, we tend to use the term the dissolution of the partnership. When a partnership comes to an end, we say the partnership dissolves. But it's exactly the same. You can use those two, termination or dissolution. You can use that as synonyms. So you know by now that a partnership is a legal relationship arising from a contract. That's the essence of partnerships. It is an agreement, a legal relationship arising from a contract. So this should immediately tell you that the same rules that are applicable to the termination of contracts will also apply to the termination of a partnership. How are partnerships, how are contracts in general most commonly terminated? By way of performance. Termination by performance in a partnership will only be applicable in instances where the partnership was entered into and agreed upon for one specific business deal, one specific reason. Entered into, let's see, who have we got here? Benjamin, Evelina, and Virinal entered into a partnership to raise some money to celebrate over the weekend. Once they have raised that money, their partnership terminates. It's over and done. Zelda and Hilma entered into a partnership to form a company that builds roads for a particular tender. They got the tender. Once the job is done, they no longer bound to each other. The partnership terminates. So partnership entered into for a specific reason will terminate once that reason has been accomplished. Impossibility of performance. Supervening impossibility of performance. Zelda and Hilma enter into a partnership for the purpose of tendering to build a specific road. They put in the tender, but are not awarded the tender. The reason for which they formed this partnership has now become impossible. Impossibility of performance, their partnership will terminate. Inflection of time. If the partnership was for a specific, if it was agreed at the formation of the partnership, that it would be for a specific time. Rushay and Jonas agree to go into a partnership for a year. After the year has passed, inflection of time, the partnership will terminate. So all three of those contractual reasons can lead to the termination of partnerships. Also, some other manners in which a partnership can be dissolved. Those three are within the context of partnerships, perhaps a little bit unusual because partnerships agreements are normally open-ended. You agree to start practicing as accountants in a partnership. without a specific time. You don't agree to do this for a year or 2 years or whatever. It's open-ended. So if it's an open-ended agreement, the most common method in which a partnership will dissolve is by way of mutual agreement. You both decide that you wish to go or not both, it can be many partners, not just two, but all the partners decide that they've reached the end of the road for whatever reason, and they decide to agree to terminate their partnership. This is the most common way of ending a partnership, would be by agreement. Something you need to know, however, that if the agreement was procured by a false representation, so the partners, let's say Zelda, Hilma, and Rushay were in a partnership practicing as accountants. Zelda finds out, and Zelda, I'm just using your name, I'm sure you won't actually do something like this, finds out about a lucrative opportunity that she would like to follow in her own name. But doing so could lead to her being in breach of her duty of good faith, in breach of her fiduciary duty. So she goes to her partners and say, let's dissolve the partnership because I want to go and travel around the world. And they agree, and the partnership is dissolved. If they subsequently found out that she had lied to them, she obtained their agreement based on a lie, on a false representation, they will potentially have a claim for damages. So don't lie, always be honest. Remember, in a partnership, the duty of good faith starts even when you start negotiating to become a partnership, and continues even after the dissolution of the partnership. Related to dissolution by mutual agreement is notice of dissolution. These two are similar, the difference being that mutual agreement, all the partners agree to terminate, to dissolve the partnership. Notice of dissolution is when one partner unilaterally on their own so one partner gives notice of dissolution, basically informs the other partners that he or she wishes to resign. Partnership agreements often have provisions in how this should be done. Often ruled by, it should be. Partnership agreement contain provisions that if a partner wishes to resign, they have to give 3 months notice, or it has to coincide with the end of the calendar year or the end of the financial year or whatever. Now, you know enough about contracts at this stage that if a contract says, the agreement says, you must do A, B, and C. The agreement says you must give 3 months notice, which must coincide with the end of the financial year. That is a contractual term, which means if one of the partners suddenly decides to give notice of dissolution with only 1 month randomly in the middle of the year, they are in breach of contract. They are not doing what they have agreed to do. They are in breach of contract. In this instance, if there is breach of contract, there could potentially be a claim for damages from the other partners. However, a court will never specific performance. What does this mean? Let's say the partnership agreement said 3 months notice to coincide with the end of the financial year. And Hilma decides in October to only give 1 month notice. She is accordingly in breach of contract. The court could, if the remaining partners, Zelda and Rushay, can prove that they suffered losses, that they suffered damages as a result of this, the court will order that damages be paid. Remember, damages must always be proven. The court will not, however, give an order for specific performance. The court will not order Hilma to go back to the partnership and wait till the right time to give 3 months notice to coincide with the end of the financial year. For the simple reason, because of this good faith, this duty of good faith that underpins the entire partnership agreement, a court will never force anybody to be part of a partnership against their will. Court will never order specific performance, will never force somebody to be a part of partnership against their will. Instead of specific performance, the court will order that the contract be cancelled. Change in membership. This is something you probably don't know. But any change in membership will lead to the termination of a partnership. So either if one partner decides to leave, but not just if one partner leaving, but also the addition of a new partnership will lead to the termination of the partnership agreement. What do I mean by this? Let's say Benjamin, Evelina, Virinau, and Lynette are partners in a partnership. And Lynette resigns. She gives notice of termination. As a result of that, the partnership between Benjamin, Evelina, and Virinau will also come to an end. You cannot just leave a partnership without the entire partnership dissolving. Why is this? Why is this? This is because a partnership is an agreement between specific persons. So in our example, Benjamin, Evelina, Virinau, and Lynette. That partnership is Benjamin, Evelina, Virinau, and Lynette. It is not Benjamin, Evelina, Virinau, and Jonas. A partnership is an agreement between specific persons who agree to become partners on the basis that only they and all of them will be partners. So any change in membership changes the identity of the partnership, and therefore it will terminate. This does not mean, and very often the outside world isn't even aware of this. The fact that the partnership terminates does not mean that the remaining partners cannot enter into a new agreement and continue doing whatever they were doing under the same name and style. So Benjamin, Evelina, Virinau, and Lynette were the partners of ABC Accountants. Lynette resigns. Benjamin, Evelina, and Virinau are quite happy. They want to continue. They form a new partnership, and they can continue practicing same premises, same name, same everything as ABC Accountants. 3 months later, they invite Roche to join them. Benjamin, Evelina, Virinau, and Roche will enter the agreement between Benjamin, Evelina, and Virinau will terminate, and they will form a new agreement between the four of them then, Benjamin, Evelina, Virinau, and Roche, practicing under the name and style of ABC Accountants. So to the outside world, they don't necessarily even notice that there was a termination and a new partnership formed. But legally, what happened is that the partnership terminated. Sequestration, being declared bankrupt. Sequestration of the partnership will lead to the termination of the agreement. Sequestration of an individual partner. If an individual partner is sequestrated, that will not necessarily lead to the termination of the partnership. So if the business itself goes bankrupt, then the entire partnership is dissolved. If an individual is sequestrated, that will not lead to the dissolution of the partnership. And then order of court. The High Court of Namibia always has the right to order the termination of the partnership if they see the termination as just and equitable. In other words, if it is fair. These reasons can be, any reasons can be considered as just and equitable. In most instances, events or behavior that irreparably destroys this mutual trust which forms the basis of the partnership. Any questions about that? So what are the consequences? What are the consequences of termination of partnership? Most importantly, the mutual mandate. The mutual mandate, we learned about that on Monday. The mutual mandate will come to an end. So that right of all partners to participate in the management of the partnership, the right of all partners to bind other partners in contracts that fall within the scope of the business will come to an end. The mutual mandate comes to an end. The duty of good faith, however, does not come to an end. The duty of good faith will continue. So even during the liquidation process, partners are still required to act in good faith. And then, as we've already seen, after the dissolution of the partnership, partners remain co-creditors. So for any debt due, must be collected jointly. So if there's an outstanding debt due still to the business, to the partnership, an individual partner cannot proceed with action to collect this debt. They have to collect it jointly. However, with regard to outstanding debt, they become jointly due by. We've looked at the meaning of that. Upon dissolution, termination, they become jointly and severally liable for any outstanding debts. And then the liquidation process. Short and sweet. Assets are sold. Outstanding debts are paid. And the free residue between the partners. Any questions? Evelyn wants to know whether you use the word bankrupt instead of talking about sequestration. It's not really professional legal language to refer to bankrupt, but yes, you can. I will not penalize you if you say the partnership went bankrupt rather than saying the partnership was sequestrated. If you're struggling to get your head around the fancy long word sequestration, you're welcome to use the term bankruptcy. I have no problem with that. Any further questions? Nothing. Okay,
yes,
short
ma'am.
and sweet then.
Good evening.
Yes.
Are we ending? Are we closing up with this chapter today now?
This is the last chapter, yes. We've just completed Unit 15, which means we have now completed the entire syllabus. So we have one more class, which will be next week and Wednesday, where I will host for you a examination preparation revision class, but no more new work left to do. Okay, anything else? Okay, if there's no further questions, then we will call it a day. That was short and sweet.
Excuse me, ma'am. I couldn't get. I was having an internet problem. So next week, Wednesday, we are having our last class.
Yes, that will be a revision class.
Okay. So I hope.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Huamos, you seem to be struggling with your connectivity. Maybe you can just ask your question on the WhatsApp group. Then I'll answer it there because you're cutting out. Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. Let me stop recording quickly. I'm slightly behind with uploading my recordings, but I will attend to that tonight and tomorrow. Okay, bye.